The broadcast of Doom Supreme Commander Tresfor was certain he had won. On every screen, from the crystal towers of the Galactic core to the mining domes of the Outer Rim, the message flashed: the capture and public execution of 3 human generals would be broadcast live, ending the last hope of the Terran Rebellion. Inside the Great Command Hall of Hegemony Station, alien officers gathered to witness history. Tresfor's 6 limbs tapped out a slow rhythm as he relished the silence before the storm. "Prepare the execution," he said, his voice resonating through the air dot in the shadows of the control deck. Zarlven watched everything with a growing sense of dread. Zarl was not like other hegemony officers. He had studied humans for years, and learned one thing above all: nothing with humans was ever simple. He saw signs of unease everywhere. The prisoners had been captured too easily. The generals, Echo T, Miguel Rivera, and Lena Novak, were legends. Their capture was neat, clinical, and Zarl's instincts screamed at him. He tried to warn his superiors. Admiral Pelzer shrugged. "You see ghosts in every shadow, Analyst Van." Tresfor laughed when Zarl mentioned ancient human sayings like, "Beware Greeks bearing gifts." No one listened. On the eve of the execution, Zarl watched the generals in their cells. T meditated, back straight as steel, eyes closed, breathing slow. Rivera did push-ups and laughed, telling stories to the guards. Novak tapped intricate patterns on her cell wall, humming a human lullaby. To the untrained eye, they were resigned. To Zarl, they were planning. The execution was set for dawn. The plaza on Hegemony Station filled with thousands of dignitaries, soldiers, and floating camera drones. The 3 generals were marched out in chains, heads held high, faces calm. Tresfor's amplified voice echoed across the plaza. "Today the rebellion ends. Today humanity bows." The crowd roared. One by one, the generals were given a chance to speak. Echo T simply said, "Thank you for this opportunity." Rivera smiled and winked at the nearest camera. "You've gathered your leaders here. We appreciate it." Novak grinned. "We're exactly where we need to be." Tresfor scoffed. Bold words for the condemned. As the countdown to execution began, Zarl's dread became certainty. He checked his cum for the last time. Number 1 was listening, but the humans were... Suspicion grows, and so does the trap as the seconds tick down. Zarl's gaze swept the crowd. In the control hub above, Razik, his only real friend, was running security scans. "Zarl, are you seeing this?" Razik whispered on the private channel. "Human fleets aren't retreating, they're moving, regrouping. It looks like a trap." Zarl's fingers danced on his datapad. "Did you scan the prisoner transport vessel?" Razik hesitated. "Yes, but the logs say all protocols were followed. The AI claims the generals were in stasis the whole time, but the AI was human-built." The realization struck them both at once. If the humans had planted an override in the AI, they could have controlled every detail of their own capture. Zarl tried one last time to reach Tresfor, sending a coded message. "Execution is a trap. Humans wanted to be captured. Security compromised." The response was swift and dismissive. "Report to medical for psychological assessment after the ceremony." In the plaza, the crowd jeered, and the tension built. Zarl's eyes locked on Novak, still tracing those odd patterns. Suddenly, he realized they were mathematical codes, commands, via the station's emergency network. Hidden in plain sight, Razik's message came through, his voice shaking. Unusual energy spikes coming from the broadcast drones. "Zarl, I think they're..." The message cut off in a burst of static. Zarl ran a quick scan on his wrist terminal and saw something horrifying. The entire broadcast network was being rerouted. Controlled from an unknown source, he turned to run for the command exit, but guards blocked his way. "Remain at your post," they ordered Dot as the clock hit 0. The entire station seemed to take a collective breath. The execution begins, and so does the uprising. The countdown ended. The executioners stepped forward, aiming their plasma rifles at the generals. Then, just as Tresfor raised his hand to give the final order, the lights flickered, and the force fields around the generals fizzled and died. Alarms blared. All over the station, doors slammed shut, and gravity surged. The general's restraints popped open, and in the crowd, dozens of aliens suddenly moved in unison, drawing concealed weapons and firing at the hegemony guards. Disguised human agents, their features shimmering into clarity as advanced holofields failed, had been hidden at every level of the audience. The camera drones, supposed to record the execution, detached and zoomed to structural joints around. The plaza, attaching themselves like insects, then exploded in perfectly timed detonations. The platform shook. Chaos reigned. General Novak pulled a small device from a hidden compartment in her uniform and tapped a code. Instantly, the plaza's automated turrets spun and fired into the hegemony ranks. Over the speakers, General T's voice rang out, clear and unyielding. This is not an execution. This is liberation. All non-combatants proceed to the evacuation zones. Hegemony officers scrambled for cover. Supreme Commander Trasfor screamed for his guards to kill the generals, but it was too late. Human agents moved with lethal precision, cutting down command staff and securing the exits. Every camera that had been meant for propaganda now broadcast the chaos to the entire. Galaxy.zarl ducked behind a shattered pillar as plasma fire sizzled overhead. Razik appeared at his side, dragging him toward a maintenance hatch. "We need to get to an escape pod," Razik hissed. "It's over, Zarl. The humans control everything." Explosions rocked the plaza. Over the comms, Rivera's voice cackled. "You thought you had us, now we have you." Outside the viewport, space warped and burned as hundreds of human ships dropped out of hyperspace, their guns aimed at the hegemony station. The human fleet arrives while chaos spread through the hegemony ranks. The real trap snapped shut outside. The human fleet wasn't a rescue force, it was an invasion armada. Cruisers and destroyers, ships of new design and power, surrounded the station in perfect formation. On the command deck, General Novak seized the Supreme Commander's control codes. Within minutes, the station's defensive grid was turned against its former masters. Automated turrets shredded hegemony patrol ships that tried to escape. Inside the station, the human agents led by Echo T moved swiftly. They secured corridors, directed civilians toward the escape pods, and broadcast surrender messages on all frequencies. Rivera's specialty, psychological warfare, came into play. Mercy was shown to all non-combatants, while hegemony commanders were isolated and captured. ZARL. And Razik joined the throng of evacuees? Hegemony soldiers tried to resist, but quickly realized the futility. Their own security systems worked against them, bulkheads closing to funnel everyone toward evacuation. Every screen showed Novak's face as she spoke. "Your leaders have failed you. Stand down. Surrender, and you will live. Continue to fight, and you join the old order in oblivion." Supreme Commander Trasfor was dragged from the ruins of his office, sputtering in rage and fear. Human Marines marched him and the other surviving command staff to the plaza, where the roles had reversed. Now the hegemony leaders stood in chains. With the galaxy watching outside, the human fleet locked down every escape route, capturing enemy ships as they tried to run. Zarl watched it all from the viewport of an escape pod, awed by the speed and precision of the operation. As the station shuddered with one final explosion, the new order began. The new order. Zarl was separated from Razik in the confusion, but was quickly intercepted by human Marines and escorted to a secured section of the station. Instead of a cell, he was brought to the command center where General Novak sat at Trasfor's old desk. She looked tired but victorious. Analyst Ben. Novak greeted him with a nod. "I read your work. You understood us, almost. You tried to warn your leaders, didn't you?" Zarl managed a weak smile. No one listened. Novak's eyes softened. "They rarely do. That's why they lost." She gestured for him to sit. "We could use someone with your mind in the new administration. The war is over if the hegemony chooses peace." All across the galaxy, human broadcasts went out. No more threats, no more executions, only the message of new order. General T appeared on every screen. To every world, every citizen, the age of fear ends here. Humanity does not conquer. Humanity endures. Let us build a better future together. As ships ferried survivors to neutral space and the hegemony's power collapsed in a matter of hours, Zarl watched in awe. The humans had turned defeat into victory, not through overwhelming force alone, but through cunning, patience, and unity. Rozek rejoined him on the surface of a liberated world weeks later. You still studying humans? Rozek teased. Zarl smiled. I think the real study is just beginning. In the end, the galaxy learned what Zarl had always suspected. Humanity was never to be underestimated. When you try to break them in front of the universe, that's when the real fight begins, and that's when humanity wins.